Section 2 of The Birds of the Air by John Frost. The golden eagle, osprey, secretary falcon, kite, and moor buzzard. The golden eagle. Among birds, the eagle is usually considered to hold the same place that the lion does among beasts. Buffon has drawn between them a parallel which displays his usual eloquence. Quote, magnanimity, end quote, says he, quote, is equally conspicuous in both. They despise the small animals and disregard their insults. It is only after a series of provocations, after being teased with the noisy or harsh notes of the raven or magpie, that the eagle determines to punish their temerity or their insolence with death. Besides, both disdain the possession of that property which is not the fruit of their own industry, rejecting with contempt the prey which is not procured by their own exertions. Both are remarkable for their temperance. This species seldom devours the whole of his game, but like the lion leaves the fragments and offals to other animals. Though famished for want of prey, he disdains to feed upon carrion. Like the lion also, he is solitary, the inhabitant of a desert, over which he reigns supreme, excluding all the other birds from his silent domain. It is perhaps even more uncommon to see two pairs of eagles in the same tract of mountain than two families of lions in the same part of the forest. They separate from each other at such wide intervals as to afford ample range for subsistence, and esteem the value and extent of their domain to consist in the abundance of prey with which it is replenished. The eyes of the eagle have the glare of those of the lion, and are nearly of the same color. The claws are of the same shape, the organs of sound are equally powerful, and the cry equally terrible. Destined, both of them, for war and plunder, they are alike bold, fierce, and untractable. It is impossible to tame them unless they be caught in their infancy. End quote. It may be allowed that this parallel holds good in all its points but one, that which respects the voice of the eagle, which is a piercing treble, possessed of no grandeur, while that of the lion is a deep and dreadful bass. Of all his tribe, the golden eagle is the largest and most majestic. He measures 3 feet in length, 7 feet and a half from tip to tip of the wings, and weighs 14 pounds. The head and neck are clothed with narrow pointed feathers of a deep brown color, bordered with tawny. The whole body also is of a dark brown, the back being finely clouded with a deeper shade of the same. The tail is brown, irregularly barred with an obscure ash color. The beak is of a deep blue, and the eye of a hazel color. The legs are yellow, strong, and feathered to the very feet, and the toes are armed with formidable claws. The osprey, or fishing eagle. This bird is nearly as large as the golden eagle, measuring in length 3 feet and a half, but its expanded wings do not reach above 7 feet. Its bill is large, much hooked, and of a bluish color. Irises, and some light hazel, and others yellow. A row of strong, bristly feathers hangs down from its underbill next to its throat, whence it has been termed the bearded eagle. The top of the head and back part of the neck are dark brown, inclining to black. The feathers on the back are variegated by a lighter brown with dark edges. The scapulars are pale brown, the edges nearly white. The breast and belly whitish, with irregular spots of brown. The tail feathers are dark brown, the outer edges of the exterior feathers whitish. The quill feathers and thighs are dusky, the legs and feet yellow. The claws, which are large and black, form a complete semicircle. It is found in various parts of Europe and America. It is, however, wide dispersed, and was met with at Botany Island by Captain Cook. It lives chiefly on fish. Its usual haunts are by the seashore. It also frequents the borders of large lakes or rivers, and is said to see so distinctly in the dark as to be able to pursue and catch its prey during the night. The nest is built on the ground among reeds, and the female lays 3 or 4 white eggs, which are rather smaller than a hen's. Frequent contests take place between the bald eagle and the osprey, the former endeavoring to deprive the latter of the prey which it has caught. The secretary falcon. This curious bird resembles the common falcon in its head, bill, and claws, but its legs are so long that when it stands upright it is not much unlike the crane. When standing erect it measures about 3 feet from the top of the head to the ground. It is a native of the interior of Africa, Asia, and the Philippine Islands. The general color of the plumage is a bluish ash. the tips of the wings and the thighs inclining to black. On the back of the head are several long, dark-colored feathers hanging down behind and capable of being erected at pleasure. This crest induced the Dutch colonists at the Cape to give it the name of the secretary. The Hottentots, however, style it the serpent-eater, from the avidity with which it catches and devours those noxious reptiles. The manner in which it seizes them displays great intelligence. On approaching them, it carries forward the point of one of its wings in order to parry their venomous bites, and waits till it finds an opportunity of spurning or treading on its adversary, or taking him on his pinions and throwing him into the air. When he has at last thus wearied him out, he kills and devours him at his leisure. Monsieur le Valiant witnessed one of these combats. Finding itself inferior in strength, the serpent endeavored to regain his hold, but the falcon, by a single leap, got before him and cut off his retreat. On whatever side the reptile strove to escape, the enemy still faced him. The serpent then erected himself to intimidate the bird, and, hissing dreadfully, displayed his menacing throat, inflamed eyes, and a head swollen with rage and venom. Sometimes this produced a momentary suspension of hostilities, but the bird soon returned to the charge, and covering her body with one of her wings as a buckler, struck her enemy with the bony protuberance of the other. The serpent at last dropped, and the bird laid open his skull with one stroke of her beak. This singular bird may easily be tamed, and it becomes very domestic and familiar. If severely pinched with hunger, it will then devour ducklings and chickens. Yet, if well fed, it will live with the poultry on amicable terms, and when it sees any of them quarreling, will run to part the combatants. Unlike all the rest of the feathered race, these birds always strike forward with their legs when they fight. The kite. Of the falcon tribe, the kite is the best known and the most ignoble. He may be distinguished from others of the same class by his forked tail and the slow circular eddies which he describes in the air previous to pouncing on his prey. He appears indeed to rest himself upon the air without making the smallest effort in flying. As, however, almost every bird of flight is able to elude his pursuit, he subsists only on accidental carnage, and may be considered as an insidious thief, who, on finding a small bird wounded, or a young chicken strayed from its mother, improves the moment of calamity to his own advantage. Sometimes, indeed, his hunger urges him to acts of desperation. One has been seen to fly round and round for a while to mark a clutch of chickens, and then suddenly dart upon the unresisting little animal and carry it off, the parent hen in vain crying out, and the boys hooting and casting stones to scare it from its plunder. This bird is common in England, where it continues the whole year. It is found in various parts of Europe, in very northern latitudes, whence it retires towards Egypt before winter in great numbers. In size, the kite is larger than the common buzzard. He has large eyes, yellow legs and feet, and black talons. The head and back are of a pale ash hue. His neck is reddish, and the lesser rows of the wing feathers are parti-colored, black, red, and white. The moor buzzard. This bird is about 21 inches in length, with a black bill and yellow eyes. The whole crown of the head is of a yellowish white, lightly tinged with brown. The throat is of a light rust color. The rest of the plumage is of a reddish brown, with pale edges. The greater wing coverts are tipped with white. The legs are yellow and claws black. Rabbits, young wild ducks, and other waterfowl are the prey of this bird. It will likewise feed on fish, frogs, reptiles, and even insects. Its haunts are in hedges and bushes, near pools, marshes, and rivers that abound with fish. It builds its nest a little above the surface of the ground, or in hillocks covered with thick herbage. Though smaller, it is more active and bold than the common buzzard, and when pursued it faces its antagonist and makes a vigorous defense. End of section 2, read by Elsie Selwyn.